Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Paper D Ecology. Chapter Biogeochemical Cycles. According to book, chapter number 16. According to syllabus, chapter number 7. Definition of biogeochemical cycles: the more or less circular pathways in which chemical elements, including all the essential elements of protoplasm, circulate in the biosphere in characteristic paths from environment to organism and back to the environment, are called biogeochemical cycles. Bio refers to the living organisms, geo to the rock, air and water of the earth, chemicals to chemical interaction involved in these cycles. These cycles involve back and forth movement of materials between biotic and abiotic components of biosphere. Nutrient cycling: movement of elements and organic compounds essential to life is designated as nutrient cycling. For example, oxygen cycle, carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, sulfur cycle and phosphorus cycle. Types of biogeochemical cycles: there are two types, gaseous and sedimentary. Gaseous, when the reservoir is in the atmosphere or hydrosphere, for example oxygen cycle, carbon dioxide cycle, nitrogen cycle and hydrogen cycle. Sedimentary, when the reservoir is in the earth crust, that is soil and rock. Examples: phosphorus cycle and sulfur cycle. Two cycles included in the course: nitrogen cycle and phosphorus cycle. First one is the nitrogen cycle. 79% of nitrogen is present in the form of gas in the air. The steps that are involved in the nitrogen cycle: non-biological fixation, biological fixation, ammonification, nitrification, denitrification. Nitrogen cycle: because of lightning or thunderstorm, atmospheric nitrogen in the form of gas reacts with the oxygen gas, results in the formation of nitric oxide, which reacts with oxygen form nitrogen dioxide, which react with oxygen form nitrogen pentoxide. When nitrogen pentoxide reacts with water, it forms nitric acid HNO3. The nitric acid along with the rainwater comes to the soil as acid rain. This whole step is known as non-biological fixation because no living organism is involved. Nitric oxide, when reacts with the mineral that are present in the soil, results in the formation of nitrate. Next step, biological fixation. The fixation of nitrogen in the soil or the bodies of living organisms is known as biological fixation. The atmospheric nitrogen in the form of ammonia fixed into the soil by means of cyanobacteria, free fixer bacteria, the bacteria that makes association with the root nodules of higher plants. Cyanobacteria, the examples of the cyanobacteria involved in nitrogen fixation: Nostoc and Calothrix. Free fixers bacteria: Azotobacter and Clostridium. The bacteria that makes the association with the root nodules of higher plants or the leguminous plant is the Rhizobium that fix the nitrogen as ammonia in the nodules. The nitrogen in the form of nitrogenous compound is transported or entered into the plant body. When these plants are eaten by the animal, nitrogen enters into the animal body. Animals, when they excrete, as well as after the death of plants and animals, their dead bodies and the excretory material of the animals are decomposed by the decomposers, that is bacteria and fungi. The nitrogen that is fixed in the form of ammonia step is known as the ammonification. When the ammonia is converted into nitrite in the presence of bacteria Nitrosomonas, and nitrite is converted into nitrate in the presence of bacteria Nitrobacter, the step is known as nitrification. Nitrate in the presence of bacteria denitrifying bacteria Pseudomonas again converted back into the atmospheric or gaseous nitrogen. This step is known as denitrification. So the nitrogen cycle completes in 5 steps. The non-biological fixation, because no living organism involved. Biological fixation, because living organisms are involved. Ammonification, the conversion of nitrogen in the form of ammonia. Nitrification, the conversion of ammonia in the form of nitrite and nitrate. Denitrification, the conversion of nitrate in the form of gaseous nitrogen. Second, phosphorus cycle. The steps involved: rock as a source of phosphorus, use of phosphate by the autotrophs, loss of phosphate to water, and return of phosphate from the sea. First, phosphate in the rock or rock as a source of phosphorus. The ultimate source of phosphorus in the ecosystem is the rock. Because of withering and erosion, withering, it is the decomposition or breakdown of rock, while the erosion, that is the removal of upper fertile soil. So because of the withering and erosion, the airborne dust, volcanic gases, these are the roots that makes the phosphate available to the living organism. So the phosphate that comes from the breaking down or the removal of upper fertile soil of the rocks goes to make the soil, or it goes to the water bodies. Use of phosphate by the autotrophs. The phosphate that is present in the soil or the water bodies, it is absorbed by the roots of the plants. So phosphate move to the body of plants or producers. When the plants, they are eaten by means of animals, herbivores or in turn carnivores, the phosphate transferred to their body. After the death of living organisms, their bodies are decomposed. That helps in the return of phosphate to the soil, fresh water and ocean. In the fresh water and ocean, the phosphates are deposited in the form of either deep sediments or the shallow sediments that ultimately converted in the form of rock. Phosphate also returns from the water bodies to the land by the different processes. First one include the upwelling or the wave that creates in the deep ocean. It brings the water or phosphate in the water from unlighted depths to the photosynthetic zone. That is a return mechanism of phosphate in the sea. Second, the fish eating birds annually excrete many tons of phosphate on their nesting ground. So return of phosphate from the water to the land. A large amount of phosphate is returned from the sea to the land by fish harvesting birds as well as human beings.